Ngawa mfowalanda tinkoya enoyo inchimuina ngumbo alala wabaponzano endesekatasa balipundile alo yakusana sindele kakwechira muri sacha ala wakutola mukafe kubati ni solontoni wabationto matai temukalale nafyalilwe mwembona majeke chokulepa nandibona alikwata kwesu shabanga bana banomba bashayishi buku bafuma tetinda byukulumbanya alikwata nechilumba umumbone boye kwesu febalele bakusamba panika mwembono kufwala matai temukalale nafyalilwe mwembona majeke chokulepa nandibona alikwata kwesu shabanga bana banomba bashayishi buku bafuma tetinda byukulumbanya alikwata nechilumba umumbone boye kwesu febalele bakusamba panika Nebo ekwesu febabele bakusamba panika nefumushisano shakuteka bamwe wae bakalamba kwabashibirisha kumulundu nibamwasa bombe na chitembo shimbishibirisha kabangulu nibanguluwe kabamulongwe nefumushisano shakuteka bamwe wae bakalamba kwabashibirisha kumulundu Nibamwasa bombe na chitembo shimbishibirisha kabangulu nibanguluwe kabamulongwe kama mwana basongola meno ena bakwabo nintambi mwana basongola meno ena bakwabo nintambi mwana bapoloto kumenso nabo bene kwabo nintambi mwana bapoloto kumenso nabo bene kwabo nintambi mwana misisi ya pemu ena bakwabo nintambi mwana misisi ya pemu ena bakwabo nintambi nangu batika wile kisungu mukalale mwena temunyabo nangu batika wile kisungu mukalale mwena temunyabo alakumumba nebo ekwesu fuyebabele bakusamba panika Nombano mbulene mikoa ekwisi befyo na ikala Nombano mbulene mikoa ekwisi befyo na ikala Batatane bubena mumba batani nekisikibuali Pamayo bena balumbu Nanguntili ya bena kasimu Nombo kukonka nentambi Nemwine nemwina kasimu Kumumba nebo ekwesu Febabele bakusamba panika Nombano mbulene mikoa ekwisi befyo na ikala Nombano mbulene mikoa ekwisi befyo na ikala Batatane bubena mumba batani nekisikibuali Pamayo bena balumbu Nanguntili ya bena kasimu Nombo kukonka nentambi Nemwine nemwina kasimu Kumumba nebo ekwesu Febabele bakusamba panika Nebo ekwesu febabele bakusamba panika nefumushisano shakuteka bamwe wae bakalamba kwabashibirisha kumulundu nibamwasa bombe na chitembo shimbishibirisha babangulu nibanguluwe kabamulongwe nefumushisano shakuteka bamwe wae bakalamba kwabashibirisha kumulundu Nibamwasa bombe na chitembo shimbishibirisha kabangulu nibanguluwe kabamulongwe Alawe mwana ponzano letfakwisi awebo
Good evening, Zambia. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching us this evening. Welcome to a brand new Thursday night installment, Thursday night motivation with Frank on TV Bakwetu. This is an opportunity where I'm going to share hopefully some inspirational messages to people back home and also people wherever you are this evening. It's so important in this world that we live in the time of uncertainty, that we realize that there's power within ourselves to be masters of our destinies, to be able to take our lives to the level that we want. And this evening, I want to address something, and I call this keys to success. Let's be honest. We all want to be successful in what we do. We all want to be successful in the jobs that we want. We all want a good job. We all want a good home. And in all of this, I always ask myself in everything that I do, what is it? What are the keys to success? When people are chasing this successful life, what are the keys to success? And people find the thing called success in so many areas. Some people will be about having a great job. Some people it will be about just having a great family life. Depends. It all depends on individual. But what is important to understand when it comes to successful life is success is within. You know it. Winning at life. Winning knows if you're winning or you're not. Winning knows if you're losing. You can fake it to everyone else. You can tell people you do better, but winning knows you're not winning. You cannot lie winning, and you know you're not winning. So when it comes to being successful, what is the first ingredient that you need to be successful? You have to have the ability to go the distance. So many people start something new so often, but they never finish. I want you to just remember at the beginning of the year, how many people said, 2021, it's my year? Then how did they start the year? Drunk and hungover and tired for the rest of the week. Okay? And they said, this is my year. And every year, people say this is going to be my year. One thing I want to really enlighten you upon is the movement of time will never change your life, but the actions that you take change your life. The movement of time will never change your life, but the actions that you take will determine whether your life is going to be a success or a flop. So you have to then start looking at, what do I do? Are the actions that I'm taking today, are they taking me to a higher level, or are they dragging me back? Are the actions that I've taken this week, have they helped me go to the next level, or are they holding me back? So many people talk about being successful, but the actions that they take are contrary to what they're talking about. And I always say this to people: never ever judge a tree by the fruits it talks about. Always judge a tree by the fruit it bears. Never judge a person by the fruit they talk about. Judge them by the fruit they bear. And how do we change the fruits we bear? We change them by taking different actions. In 2007, I moved, my family moved to the UK in about 2005. In 2006, I joined school. I was struggling. And in 2007, I failed my high school exams. But the day I failed my high school exams, it was an interesting moment. As I left school, I watched the people on my left-hand side were the people who had done really well. They were jubilant. The people on my right-hand side were really discouraged. These are the people who had done poorly. Heads down. On my left-hand side, heads up and joyful. And as I left the school that day, I thought to myself, I've got a choice from here. I've got a choice to turn my life around. I've got a choice to ensure that my life will change or my life will stay exactly the way it is. I've got a choice to be with the people who stood on my left-hand side. And 5 minutes after finding out I'd failed my high school exams, I set a goal to go to university. I said I was going to go back, I was going to resit my exams, and I was going to achieve something great with my life. The journey wasn't easy. When I went back to the same school that I was in high school, because in the UK, after high school, you can stay at the same school to do your A levels. And I went back to the same school to resit my exams. And for a year, I resat some exams and I did a course. And that course was a new course and it was only done by people who had not done well in their exams. And I shared this with some of my teachers of what I was going to do, my plans to turn everything around and go to university. Some teachers looked at me and said, there's a supermarket just outside of school they're recruiting. And I said, you know what, I was going to turn this around. It was the loneliest time. It was the loneliest time of my young life. Here's the thing. The smart kids in school did not want to hang out with me because I was not smart enough. The people who were in my class who had also failed their exams, I did not want to hang out with them because they had no vision. So then this left me with no choice but to spend a lot of time on my own. This was my goal. This was my dream. I was going to turn my life around no matter what it was. And I set out on this journey. It was lonely. It was hard. The journey was so difficult. I had anxiety and depression all throughout university, but I overcame that. I resat my exams, which I passed. I did my A levels, which I passed with flying colors. I literally went from failing high school to being one of the top students in school in most of my classes. And I went to university and I graduated with honors. Now, that sounds like a great story, isn't it? Failed my high school exams, decided I'm going to resit them, then turn my life around and pass with honors. What was in the middle was a complete mess. What was in the middle was tough. What happened in the middle is where a lot of people give up on every journey. Because what happened when I said to go to university, I thought I was going to have a lot of people are going to say, you're good enough, you can achieve it. I had a lot more people who were saying I could not do it. So when you set out any goals in your life, you're going to have people who look at you right now for what you have. When I said to go to university, I had people who looked at me for what I was at that time. They did not look at me for what I could be. And so many people, when they set goals, they look at themselves for what they are right now. They never look at them for what they could be. One thing I told myself when I set out that goal was, I need to go and learn. And this is the most important thing. I need to go and put in the work. People talk about success. I want to be successful. Do you put in the work? I went and put in the work. I understood that I had a lot of catching up to do. And I would study from the moment I was in school. We had what we call, people used to call them free lessons, study periods. I made sure I learned as much as I could. When I went home, I was just studying as much as I could. And I completely, by the time I was doing my A levels, I'd learned so much and I was on my way. When it comes to being successful, you have to go out there and do the work that needs to be done. I see a lot of people today, when they talk about success, they think they can go and do a few hours of work and that is what is going to be it. They just do not put in enough. Or what do they do is they show. Because I'm a life coach, I get a lot of people who will send me a message and say, I woke up at 4:30 this morning, and I'm thinking, why did you do that? Probably you need to get a nice woman, you need to get a lovely wife, you need to get a lovely woman in your life and marry them. You don't need to wake up at 4, because somebody along the way said success means sleep deprivation. So then what do? They post all these successful things. They send me this little video, say, I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, as if they want me to say, well done, keep working hard, or congratulations. I don't know what they want from me. But we do this and thinking success is about showing off. No, success is about going out there and doing the things that needs to be done. So many people talk success, but they don't act success. They talk success and never act success. It's going out there and do the things that you want to do. I saw a book that said 10 simple steps to success. Now, I am a motivational speaker. I am a life coach. I'm constantly reading. I got a lot of inspirational books. I'm always reading. I read about 4 books a month. Now, when I see something like that that says 10 simple steps to success, I'm not picking up, I'm not reading it. Because I can tell you, being successful at anything is not simple. Being successful at anything is not simple. It was not simple when I was lying in bed with depression and couldn't be bothered to get up and I had to force myself. That was not simple. It was not simple when I was stood in the public and just having with this panic anxiety at that particular time. That's not simple. There's nothing simple. You know what? There's nothing simple about life or about being successful. Life is hard work. Life is tough. One moment you see a step in front of you and think that's my next step, and the next seconds it turns into sinking sand. But somebody is trying to tell us, I want to show you the simple steps to success. There's nothing simple about life. If there was 10 simple steps to success, we will all be successful. But there's nothing simple about success. There was nothing simple when I set a goal and people said, you can't do it, not you. It was nothing simple when I went for my first job. I got this job through an agency. And through an agency, the employer doesn't see you. So your agency is technically your employer who employs you and takes you to that organization. And I went to meet the manager, and the first thing the manager said was, oh, they didn't tell me you were black. There was nothing simple about that, realizing that the color of your skin might determine whether you're going to get a job or not. There's nothing simple about life. But the people who succeed are the people who realize it's not easy, but they're going to go and do what it takes in order to become successful. That they're going to take the steps and the steps that they need to take in order to transform their lives. As a 16-year-old, I knew this, that if I was going to transform my life, I was going to have to take every step along the way, and that some of them were not going to be easy, and a lot of them were not easy. A lot of them were not easy. But I understood that the only way that I can become successful is by finishing the journey. Too many people start the journey, but very few finish it. As the late great Zig Ziglar used to say, it is not the top that is overcrowded, it's the bottom. Because people start the journey, it gets difficult. What do? They give up. They give up on that particular thing. They move on to one thing. They never complete anything. And they never transform their lives. Because you cannot be successful without finishing anything. For example, if you are a builder and you've got a lot of unfinished projects, and you come to me and you say, who's a great builder? I'm not going to say, oh, you know what, my friend John is a very great builder. He's never finished anything. I reckon you should give him this project. I'll be saying, can you avoid John? He never finishes anything. Because you cannot be successful without finishing anything. You cannot be successful at something without finishing that particular thing. And that's a problem so many people have. They move on from one thing to another. This comes from another key ingredient of success: focus. Focus is important. Somebody asked me, what would you say was the most important thing when you set out to go to university? Focus. I was focused on that particular thing. It did not matter what was going on. It did not matter what the distractions were. I was focused. When you are focused on something, the distractions disappear. So many people go to work that they never focus on the things that they do. They never focus on the job they do. Now, these days we've got these, right? The amount of times I see people, you walk around the office I work in, the amount of time you see people are like this in the middle of work and having all these conversations outside work because we got this distraction and we lose focus. When you're focused on something, you're going to spend the time that you need to do. You're going to spend the time that you need to spend in order to complete that particular thing, in order to complete that particular project. I'm a published author. Now, writing a book, you don't write a book if you're distracted. You cannot write a book if you're not focused. When I start writing, I would sit on my study of just over there, and I would stay there. Most of the time when I'm writing, I'll be there 8-12 hours without even realizing how much time has gone because I'm focused in doing that particular thing. How many people switch off in whatever they're doing? They go to work and they say, I'm in work today and I'm going to stay in work. I'm going to focus on work. You know, a lot of people are not successful because they never really focus on anything. When they're in work, they're thinking, oh, maybe I should have spent a lot more time with my family. But when they're with their family, they're thinking they should have spent a lot more time working. So when they're with their family, they're thinking about work. When they're at work, they're thinking about spending time with their family. So they're never anywhere at all. It's another ingredient of success, doing what it takes. Doing what it takes. When we moved to the UK, we're living in South Wales. And one of my mom's colleagues took my brother and I to join the rugby team. And after a few years, I was playing for Riska under 16s about a year. Now, I was never been the biggest guy ever. And I remember I went to the first rugby match and I stood on the sidelines. It was freezing. It was -2 degrees. And you know, I decided, and after a few games, I did not get enough game time, and I thought I want more game time. How can I get more game time? Somebody said you need to go to the gym and bulk up a little bit. I did not like lifting weights. I did not like that bit. I liked grabbing the ball and running. I liked that element of it. I went and trained in the rain, in the cold. I trained in the cold in the week so that I do not stand out in the cold on game day. Now I'll explain that. Just listen to that again. I trained in the week in the cold so that I do not stand out in the cold on game day. I trained so hard, improved my running skills, improved my catching skills, improved my kicking skills. I trained so much that I never stood out in the cold, or I never stood out in the cold on game day, ever, after that. Now, that is important. If you train hard in the cold, if you work hard in the cold, when things are difficult, when everybody around you seem to be having a great time and you're having to lock yourself away and study, when you're having to lock yourself away and develop that skill, there's going to be a time when game day arrives, you're not going to be out in the cold because you would have done everything that you need to do. Because my friends, all you need to do, what do I need to do to be successful? All you can do is all you can do. But the problem with so many people is they never do all they can do. In order to transform your life, you have to go out there and do what needs to be done. In order to transform your life, you have to be truly honest with yourself. Am I doing the things that I need to do? Am I contributing to my failures right now? As human beings, we got this great ability to over-exaggerate what we did in order to be successful. And we, at the same time, we got this great ability to underplay our contribution when things don't work out, when things fail. We got this ability to just underplay our contribution. a coaching client of mine is now a good friend of mine, and we always share the stage, and I always share this story. The first time I coached it, when I first started life coaching him, we met him. He just had a very, very bitter divorce, and we started talking. And I asked him a question. So, why did your marriage fail? The first thing he said to me was, well, I was working so many hours. I said to him, I look at him, I say, okay, you're chatting nonsense. Then he said, well, my wife was just a little bit difficult. Then I prodded him a little bit more. Then he said he had an affair. So I said, right, we got a point. We got a starting point. Then I said to him, so you lost your job. So what happened there? Oh, my colleagues were very difficult. So I said, you're chatting nonsense again. Then he said, oh, my boss was just picking on me. So I said, you're chatting nonsense again. Then he said, I stole money at work and they had to fire me. Now we had the starting point. So I took him from putting responsibility on other people to putting responsibility on his own actions. We can only change our lives when we acknowledge that the actions that we have taken have brought us there. If we do not acknowledge that the actions that we have taken have brought us there, we can never change anything in our lives. Everything that we achieve is as a result of the actions we take. The success we get, we like this bit. We will happily tell everyone this is because of what I did. But when things fail, we want to point fingers. My childhood was difficult. That's a very common one. My childhood was difficult. I grew up in a house where so many things were going on. Oh, did you see my other boss did this and this? My teacher did this and this and this. I don't give people excuse. When people come to me with excuse like that, I don't give them to them. When I started school at Buteko Basic School in Luansha, I had a year one teacher. Now I've had an eye condition called nystagmus, which was not diagnosed until I was 19 years old. But for me, it was very difficult at the time I started grade one. I couldn't even understand what was going on in class because I could not see what was going on in class. And I had a year one teacher, grade one teacher at the time, who encouraged everybody to sing Frank Saliki, to sing this song. And everybody goes, so my name is Frank Chama Saliki. And people used to sing this song when I was just in grade one when I was getting started. They were saying, Saliki Chama Chipuva, Saliki Chama Chikopo. That was a song people were singing at that particular time when I began the journey, when I began my journey. And you know, when I look back, that was difficult. But I refuse to use that as an excuse for not achieving great in my life. I refuse to use that as an excuse for not being a great father to my son. I refuse to use that as an excuse for not being a great husband to my wife. I refuse to use that as an excuse not to be a great son to my parents. I refuse to use that as an excuse not to be a good brother to my siblings. When you take away excuses, your life completely changes. You need to take away excuses and you need to find reasons for doing something. When I said to go to university, I had a reason. At the time, I told myself, if I want to really enjoy my life 10 years from now, I have to transform my life right now. I have to plant the seed right now. And I have to go and do the work that needs to be done. People used to tell me, some people used to say, you're working so hard, you're doing too much, can you slow down? And they always use this phrase, which I hate. They always say, Rome, can you slow down? Rome was not built in a day. I agree, Rome was not built in a day, but Rome was built every day. And your life will not, the things that you want will not be built tomorrow, but you have to do it every day in order for one day to have that success. And that, my friend, has to drive you. The second element to success is you have to have a goal. Why did you wake up today? Why have you done what you've been doing this week? Why do you even bother going to work? Do you go to work because you want to just pay your bills? Do you go to work because you want to pay your bills, pay your rent, and pay your mother or father's rent? Are you going to work so that you can pay your rent, your bills, your parents' rent, your siblings' rent? Now, it's important why I say that. It's very important why I say that. Because whatever we want to achieve, we're going to achieve. We're always going to find a way to get where we want to be. But we have to have a specific goal of doing why we're doing the things that we're doing at that particular time. So many people are in automatic mode. They went to school, they graduated school, now they've got to go to work. And it's almost this thing about life that you've got to do this and you've got to do this and you've got to do this, almost not having control of this is what I want to do with my life and this is where I want to go. And these are the things that you have to constantly think about. I'll tell you the moment that stood out for me. 2017 was one of my greatest year. 2017, before 2007, in 2015, I joined Gloucester Speakers Club, which is part of Toastmaster International. In 2017, I took part in the club International Speech Contest, which I won. And in that, I went to speak at the area contest, which I won. I went to speak at the division contest. To my surprise, I won. And I found myself speaking at the district level, which was the UK and Ireland combined, which to my even bigger surprise, I won. And that meant I was speaking in London for the quarterfinals of the World Championships, Toastmaster International. And I woke up that morning knowing I was the youngest person in the room that day. Everybody was speaking was about 45 and above. I was 27 years old. And as I went to speak that day, I remember that 10 years prior to that, 10 years that month of August, I had woken up and I'd opened my high school results and it felt like the whole world was falling on me. But I had set a goal to say I was going to turn my life around. And 10 years later, I was speaking at one of the highest events ever. I came third in that contest. But what I knew at the time was the possibilities are around me. What I realized at the time is that winning, being successful is always calling. But we have to take up the mantle. We have to take up the responsibility to transform your life. Listen, winning does not care if you are the most handsome person in the room. You even got the attitude, you don't win. Winning does not care if you are the richest person in the room. If you don't have the attitude, you don't win. Winning doesn't care about your background. Winning cares about the actions that you're going to take right now. So in everything that I've said this evening, let's define success. Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What do you want to do? What do you want to wake up every single day of your life? Do you feel excited every time you wake up? There's so many people who go to jobs every day. They never feel excited. They never feel the joy. I always think we have all got something special. There's a talent that we've been given. God has given us a gift, and what we do with that gift What we do with that talent is our gift back to God. What is important for you and for me is to make sure that we manifest that greatness that has been given to you and for me. And in all that you do, remember this: you are designed for accomplishment, you are engineered for success, and you're endowed with a seed of greatness. God bless you, and God bless your dream. And good night from me.